Hi, this is Cian and I'm Teal, and welcome back to the Comfort Table. This will be our first actual episode with actual content.
So, what are we talking about today?
We'll be talking about our hobbies today. And sometimes, I guess nowadays, hobbies keep people sane, but I think our hobbies
A
verge
bit,
on the insane.
yeah. So, like, originally, what I was telling her is like, I think we'll call this video like, do hobbies keep you sane? Or like, using hobbies to keep yourself sane, something like that. We'll probably like title this properly, you will see it at the end. But like, I was telling her that and she was like, but I think my hobby is a bit insane.
Yeah, because hobbies are what you do in your free time, right? And it's what you do to relax or de-stress.
Yeah.
Something you do that you enjoy.
Yeah.
But sometimes your hobbies get a bit intense.
Right. And then they like take the energy away from you instead
Yeah.
of like replenishing energy.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, maybe before we go too deeply into it, we should talk a bit about our own hobbies.
Yes. So, Kian, do you want to start with your hobbies?
Okay, I'll start. I think the most obvious one, which is not here today, because like just for info, like we're like in her house, so I don't have my stuff. So like you just see this, which is like, okay, I'll start with this since it's here. So this is a Monsta X handphone strap thing. It currently has my Tracetogether token, which like, you know, if you're in Singapore, you should know what this is.
For those who don't know, Tracetogether is the National Contact Tracing Initiative. So every citizen,
You can collect this,
Yeah.
but if you don't have this, you have to have an app in your phone.
so you use this to check in and out of locations, and then they record your
Basically, whether you've been in
whereabouts.
contact with like anybody who has COVID. So like once somebody is like confirmed to have contacted COVID, then like they'll start searching for their contacts and all that. So you would know that you have to be like, let's say, quarantine or have to stay home and monitor yourself and things like that. So yeah, okay, that was like an unexpected tangent, but like the point of it was like this is the only thing that like is very obvious, is like Monsta X, right? So I'm into K-pop, and
So what is Monsta X? Is it a individual, a group?
it's a K-pop boy band that like used to have 7 members and then now has 6, and then one of the members is now solo. So like actually that's my favorite member, and yeah. So
So it's good that he went solo.
well, I mean the circumstances surrounding why he went solo was because like there was some bad like negative allegations against him, and then like he kind of went out of the group, whether voluntarily or not, so that the group's reputation wouldn't suffer while he was being like
Ah, I
in
see.
like legal court or whatever. I didn't really follow it fully because like I felt kind of bad for him. Then I couldn't like really stomach like reading things like that. So
So even
Yeah.
though he's your favorite member and he is now an individual solo singer,
yeah.
you still support the group.
Yes, I still support the group and I still support him as well. So like I still support Monsta X and I still support Wonu. And then another group that I'm really into is Peppertones, which is an indie. I don't know whether they still count as indie lah, but like they used to be a Korean indie band. Yeah, so
How many people are there in Peppertones?
there's 2, but they have like a rotation of like so one of them plays the bass and then one of them plays the guitar, and then they have like a few people that regularly play like the drums, the electric guitar, there's one more, the piano, the keyboard for them. And then like in the past they used to have like different people playing for them, so like these are just kind of like the music I like. And then I think my go-to hobby that I would say, like if I'm comfortable enough with the people, is that I collect dolls, which you would have heard from the intro video. I collect ball jointed dolls. Yeah, so that's like a huge money sucker.
So when did you start collecting ball jointed dolls, or when did you start getting into K-pop?
I started ball joint dolls in like around 15, so I was like in secondary 3. I was quite young.
So young.
Yeah, and then for K-pop, I think I have a weird start. So like I think most people around our age get into K-pop like in secondary school, because I think that was when like the first wave of like K-pop was super popular.
I remember girl bands were super popular when
Yeah,
we were
like
in
SNSD
JC.
and
Yeah.
G and okay, JC maybe like not G, maybe like I don't really know lah. Like that time I wasn't I wasn't interested. Then like in uni, right, during dissertation or thesis one of it, right, I was damn stressed. So I started like looking up stuff, and then like K-pop was being shown to me, so I just got into it because I wanted something to distract me from work. So like that's kind of like back to like like do your hobbies give you energy? I think like it a part of it definitely starts from that, I think, for me. But they also spend a lot of energy. So like maybe you wanna talk about yours. I think like my hobbies and yours are very, very different.
Yeah, which is a bit strange because like you would think that
We are good friends, right? So we are very close friends. You think we have similar hobbies. Actually we don't
similar
have.
hobbies, but actually no, not really.
We don't really have any overlapping hobbies, do we? We eat and we drink alcohol.
Is that a hobby? Okay, so recently because of COVID, I've been spending more time at home. So I picked up bartending, and as you can see, I have some empty bottles here. So this is the botanist gin, and this is Tarsier Oriental Pink Gin, which I got this year for my birthday. So this is quite interesting because 10% of their profits actually go to the Philippine Tarsier Foundation. So I thought that was a cause worth paying for, I guess. Worth contributing to. So I bought this gin and it turned out to be really good. So other than that, I've also used my Skillsfuture credit. We'll explain that later.
Skillsfuture credit, yeah.
I've used my Skillsfuture credit to take a bartending course. It was like a 8-hour one-day course on a weekend. That was pretty fun. And so now I just make drinks at home. I make drinks for my family. I make drinks for my friends, and I put them in little bottles and pass it to them.
And you post it on like Instagram.
Yes, and
like sort of to share.
yeah, but don't expect nice pictures from my Instagram. It's just like, bad lighting, bad angles. It's just I made a drink.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah, so that's okay, so like that's one thing about hobbies, right? Like I feel like there's a tendency for hobbies to be like, look, here's a pretty thing that is my hobby. Like, like even if you run or whatever, it's like maybe like, look, here's a pretty scenery from a run, or like here's a pretty pair of shoes, my running shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like what do you think about that? Because like you're saying you don't post nice pictures, right, of your hobbies. I mean, in a way lah.
I feel like the trend is for hobbies to be accepted, I guess, or for people to showcase their hobbies. They feel like they have to take a very nice photo or video or very picturesque representation of it, but most of the time that's not why I am doing my hobby. I just do it because I enjoy it, and not because I want to show a nice picture to someone. I mean, for example, a cocktail, right? I mean, it is nice to look at, but the main draw of it is when you drink it, and you can't really drink a photo. So I mean, to me, whether it looks nice or not doesn't really matter.
It's like, is it the experience or is it the portrayal of the experience?
Yeah, but that's not to say we disagree with people who take beautiful photos.
I mean,
when they're doing their hobbies.
Can't technically say that because I post photos of my dolls
Yeah.
online. I mean, they're not like the prettiest shot, but I try to make them pretty. So
and it is a very visual hobby, right?
yeah, it is, and
Yeah.
like I mean, like you literally look at dolls. You pay so much for their scalp, their face up. It's a very like you look at them. I mean, you play with them also lah, but when you don't actually own dolls yourself, the main mode of like sharing it with your friends online is really through photos or videos. Unless you meet in person, which is like another thing altogether. So maybe you should go back and explain like Skillsfuture.
Oh, sorry.
Credit.
I feel like this is becoming like a promotional thing, And Skillsfuture, yeah. So Skillsfuture is a government initiative where each citizen, not permanent residents, each citizen is given a amount of money, and they can use it after they hit the age of 25 to take like upskilling courses, enrichment courses. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people take like what do you call it? Barista courses.
Actually, I kind of want it.
Or like wine appreciation courses.
I've heard baking also.
Yeah, and baking.
Or cooking.
Or musical instruments.
Oh, I've not heard of musical
Yeah.
instruments. I heard a lot of baking.
But of course, there are like serious courses, like learn how to code in Python, learn how to, do VBA and all those sort of actually work-related
Oh yeah. So like it's meant for upskilling for like serious stuff. Anyway, like I don't know how much we want to go into this, but like because we don't really know whether we'll have a very international audience or very Singaporean audience, we thought like we'll just like briefly explain what all these like very localized terms mean, so that if you are not from Singapore, at least you have an idea of what we're talking about. If not, you might be just very lost. Yeah. So
if you prefer us explaining, please put it in the comments. Or if you don't, you can also put it in the comments, and we'll just like put it as a footnote or
yeah, like maybe we'll just write it
somewhere.
on the screen or something. Like I mean, if you find it annoying to hear us, or we can just put a link if you don't want us to explain. I mean, I'm happy to not explain it too. But yeah. So maybe you want to talk about like
So
the other
another hobby that I have is learning languages. So I actually started learning Japanese sometime in university. So I'm reading this book right now. It is the 5th book in the 12 Kingdoms series.
Are there 12 books? I know that's a very dumb question, but
No, it's still ongoing, so I don't know how many books there eventually will be.
Sorry, I just like jumped
Yeah.
because it said like 12. You said 12 kingdoms.
12,
and I'm like,
there are 12 kingdoms, but I don't know if there will be 12 books.
yeah,
But
I
this
know.
is the 5th one.
Okay. So
Yes.
you've been reading the series. Currently,
I've
it's
been
at
reading the
number-
series. I
What's
don't
the
know.
latest one?
Quite a lot.
Like not 5.
Not 5.
Okay.
I'm probably halfway through what is published right now.
Right.
So I actually started learning Japanese partway in university because I was so stressed. Like Cian mentioned earlier that they fell into K-pop
Yeah.
when they were very stressed.
I think it was like dissertation.
in our 5th year. Yeah, so I actually
Yeah,
picked up
4th, 5th
Japanese in my I think 2nd or 3rd year.
I think around
Second.
I think 2nd. I was like we were still staying in the dorm.
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
started. Yeah.
So because university fees are the same no matter how many courses you take, so I just figured why not take more.
Which is a very weird mindset to have. So I mean, like, it is a mindset lah. Whether it's good or bad, it's up to you to take it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I took it and then I did an exchange program in Japan and I came back and I continued studying and now I quite enjoy being I don't know whether I'll get shot for this, for saying that I'm fluent, but I think I have working proficiency in Japanese enough to, read actual books that are not children's books. So this is a high fantasy novel. I guess you
Right.
can
So
think of
it's
it as like
basically
Lord
like
of the Rings, but not really.
It's
Yeah.
basically it's books for adults lah, basically.
Yeah.
This one. But it's a bit different for your Swedish.
Yeah, so I also started learning Swedish about a year ago. So I started with Duolingo, and then after that I progressed to this book, which is short stories in Swedish. There are some typos in this, so I guess the proofreading isn't that great, but it was good because Duolingo only teaches you a set number of, I guess, a set vocab, and then a set like grammar in short sentences. So actually having a book which is kind of like a graded reader to sort of link up all the different grammar, all the different vocab into a story.
Is it like
It's pretty useful,
similar to those like ladybugs?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it is a graded
books in
reader.
a way.
Yeah.
Like I've never actually read those properly lah when I was a kid. Because like by the time I saw them, I was like much older, so I never actually read it at the actual grade. Like I was reading it as like, oh, this is way too easy for me.
Yeah, so the recommendation for this book, which is actually written at the start, like how you should use this book, is that you should read out the stories aloud.
Oh, so you train your
Yes.
listening.
So you train both your listening as
And
well
your
as your
speaking.
pronunciation, and I felt
Right.
that after finishing this book, my pronunciation has improved and my reading speed as well. However, I still have a lot of ways to go in building my vocabulary and building my listening comprehension. So right now I am watching kids' TV programs in Swedish.
which is
Yeah.
probably a good way to learn. Like, I mean, one thing I really think is quite impressive is that you've learned quite a number of languages. Like, okay, so like maybe to start off, in Singapore we will learn in school English, which is the working language, and then we will learn our mother tongue, which is Chinese for both of us. And you were learning Malay.
Yes, I
in
learned
secondary
Malay.
school?
as a third language in secondary school, but I don't remember most of it.
And then you picked up Japanese in uni and now
Yeah.
Swedish, right?
Yeah.
So, like, which is a lot lah. Like, I mean, really, it's really a lot. Like, and I think I don't know whether if you don't know too many languages or you don't pick up like a third or second language, whether you appreciate it. But like, I've done like a bit of like Japanese courses and a bit of Korean courses, like right, the most basic lah. So, and like, I've never gotten past the basics because like that's not what I'm interested in. So I don't really put that much effort into it. I think I'm like a bit further in Korean than Japanese. Like I can sort of hear. I mean, I don't really know what they're saying completely, but I sort of can guess. My vocab is not great. My grammar is like crap. And then like the funny thing is, I recently was trying to buy something on Twitter from a Korean seller, a doll head lah. So I was using mostly Google Translate lah to figure out what she's saying. But like I can sort of read, like I can read keywords like this means ball jointed doll or this means this company and things like that, right? But like, and I roughly know the sentence structure lah. Like, you know, she's like trying to be more friendly or she's trying to be more like informal or whatever, right? Like I don't know the exact grammar structure, but if you say things like nene instead of like nene, it's like, okay, pronunciation shit lah, but it's like if you say things like that, it's like, oh, you're trying to be friendly lah, because it's a relatively friendly transaction, but like I don't know what the actual word is, so I like just Google Translate like crazy to figure out what
Google
she's
Translate is pretty useful.
Yeah,
But
it's not accurate.
Yeah, it's not always accurate, but it is a good
Yeah, so like
point.
I have a very awkward, like I'm at a very awkward stage in the language learning where like I sort of know stuff but I don't really know stuff. So like, I really think this is like very admirable, but I cannot do such structured study of languages. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like my Swedish study is pretty unstructured because I just do whatever I want at the moment. Whereas for Japanese, I actually took proper courses in university, proper classes as well. Yeah.
Right. Let's pause for a while. Let me check some stuff. Okay. So maybe before we wrap up this video, it's like turning out to be almost 20 minutes
20
long.
minutes.
But like maybe you want to talk about your last hobby that...
Yeah, so as I've mentioned, my hobbies are pretty recent, you know. So one thing that I got into after I started working and, you know, having the financial independence is pole dancing. Let me show you. So I guess this is what people think of when they think of pole dancing, you know, like stripper, you wear stripper heels and you dance around a pole. But I actually found that I actually got into it because I wanted a physically challenging activity that was also fun. And you don't really feel like you're exercising because you do it in aircon.
And you do it because it's fun.
And you do it because it's fun. And you keep moving and you don't really feel like you're actually exercising. Unlike, for example, I used to go to the gym and I found it really boring to just do sets and do reps. Whereas when I do pole, it's more like a skill that I can focus on. And then once I have achieved being able to do a certain move, then there are different ways to get into the move or get out of the move or to link it up to other moves. So that's one aspect that's really challenging. And the other aspect is also the musicality, which is the dance part of pole dance, which is
so
really
pole dance
difficult
is
for me.
more than just like pole fitness.
Yes.
Right? Like there's really dancing in it, which is hard lah, I think.
Yeah.
As you can tell, right, my hobbies are like super like how's that? They're very crafts related and like I don't really have like hobbies with a physical activity involved, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty indoors.
But
I guess my hobbies are indoors too. It's just
I'm no, but like your hobbies are, I think both our hobbies are quite intense lah, or like quite xiong lah, we'll say. Like as in, it can be quite relaxed if you want to do it, but like I think because of the interest, sometimes you put a lot of your energy into it. Yeah, so I don't know whether there's a conclusion from this. Is there a conclusion?
we totally missed the point about talking about how our hobbies get too intense.
Do you want to like re-roll then we continue?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you feel like your hobbies take up a huge part of your life, or are they just like, you know, what you do when you're not working?
So like so going back to like my hobbies keep me sane, right? Although they're a bit insane, it's like um I think especially for the doll hobby, like K-pop is kind of like, I guess you can subsume it under music. Like even before K-pop, I mean I listen to music lah. I think it's quite rare to find people who don't, right? So I think that's a pretty normal pastime or hobby, right? But I think like dolls, if I don't have it, in fact I was talking about it with my doll friends yesterday, right? Because I met up with them. Then we were saying how like, will you ever quit the hobby? And I think like my stance is I would never, because like I don't see myself ever being inclined to fully exit the hobby, but like maybe at most a bit less, like a bit more of a hiatus, like I maybe don't play with my dolls as much or something like that.
So is it a hobby that's very time and money intensive, or can you scale back on the time or on the money? Or...
Yeah, so I think like my opinion is that I think hobbies are like something you do on your own time, right? So generally it should be something that's like a bit more like your own time, your own targets. So technically, yes, you can scale back lah on all of this. The part that's maybe a bit difficult for people is when it's a bit of like maybe a community thing. Like when the people around you are buying stuff, or the people around you are like, hey, there's this new release, this new doll, or whatever, right? You might feel a bit pressured to just keep going lah, and then like maybe you don't have the time or the effort to really like play with your dolls, play with the new things, but you just keep buying, which is I think a problem that I have, which is like which is something that I've been trying not to do lah, like not buy as many things and just play with what I have. So that's like money wise. I think time wise I actually increased after I started doing the YouTube, like, because I feel like I wasn't playing with my dogs enough. For the amount of money I spent on them, I should make it a bit more worth my time.
Sometimes though, it's the community that keeps you going, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, because if you have someone or a group of people where you're able to share your passions with and talk about things with, and you know, get excited over the same things.
Well, actually, I don't think there's a hobby I have that I don't have at least like one or two friends who are into it. Don't think I have. Maybe exercise. But okay, so I think that's our potentially one common hobby lah. Like I think we do talk about exercise sometimes. Yeah. But it's like a very low priority hobby for me. Like I do it to keep myself healthy because I feel a bit crappy lah if I don't exercise.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't particularly do it that often. I mean, yeah, never mind. That's another topic for another time. But yeah. Where will we again? Oh yeah, so hobbies, right? And energy and like do you do it like
I try to do it frequently, although not too frequently in the case of drinking for obvious health reasons. So maybe I drink about 2 to 3 times a week, and I try to make it a fun experience. I try to search up new cocktail recipes on the internet or try my own twist on something. Yeah, and then for reading and language learning, I try to do it maybe about like 15 minutes a day, or if I'm just really tired the day, I just skip it. And I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I have to make up for it the next day, because I've come to terms with the fact that it's just a hobby and I'm just doing it for my own enjoyment. So I don't have to feel pressured into forcing myself to do it, because then
it's not enjoyable.
Then it's not enjoyable anymore. Yeah. So for pole dancing, I was actually pretty surprised that I enjoyed it so much, because it was pretty out of character for me to go into something that's so, sensual and so revealing.
Yeah. I think before this, it was like, it's like new territories for you.
Definitely, but
like, okay, you can sort of tell from what we wear, right? Normally, like, so
yeah. But I initially picked it up also because I wanted to push myself, to challenge myself to do something that was out of my comfort zone. And now I found that it is a really enjoyable hobby. I do it about 2 to 3 times a week. And I've made a lot of friends at my home studio.
Yeah. I think you're quite close with those friends.
Yeah, and especially when you become a working adult, it's pretty hard to meet new people outside of work situations.
It's damn difficult to make friends.
Because you just don't get as many opportunities to interact with people. I mean, I'm just saying from our experiences.
Yeah, I think it's hard to like meet new people, especially if you spend a lot of time indoors, like not literally indoors, but like you spend a lot of time at home, like I do. And then like my hobbies are mostly solo hobbies. Like if let's say your hobby is like playing a team game like frisbee or whatever, right? I think it's much easier to get to know people. But my hobby is like I make things at home by myself. So it's like I think like if there's more of a culture of like, oh, I invite people over to my house to craft, right? Or like there's actually more space at home to actually like invite people to craft. It's space is like quite scarce like in most people's homes in Singapore.
Yeah. However, you can make up for that with online communities, I guess.
Yeah, so I think some stuff really like focuses on like online communities. Like K-pop, I had a few local friends that I spoke to on Twitter a lot last time. I kind of fallen out of that because we don't really like stand the same group. But
you went for concerts together, right?
So yeah, we went for some overseas concerts in Korea together, and then like through that friend, I also like on that trip we stayed with some other friends lah that she knew. So I would say it depends. So like I never really kept in contact with them after that, as in like the new friends. The one that I was like sort of close to, I think we just kind of don't really stand the same group anymore. So it's a bit difficult to, maybe not difficult lah. I think I'm a bit less in the fandom as they are. So it's a bit like, you know, like I won't spend so much time talking to them about it. But I think for me, dolls is one that is it's been a very strong thread through my life. And like, I have like currently 2 very close doll friends. So that really helps to keep it ongoing, and like having people to talk to on like YouTube as well helps to keep it going. Then
so please talk to us so we can keep this going.
I mean, yeah, we really want to hear opinions from you. So, and yeah, I realized I didn't talk about some other stuff that I do as like a side, not really a side hobby, but like I read quite frequently. I read almost daily, but I don't really consider it a hobby. Like if you just ask me like what's your hobby, I would not immediately say reading lah. But I do currently read quite often English non-fiction.
Is that because you don't get any sort of like relaxation or enrichment from reading, like your other hobbies, or do you read for some purpose that is, you know, not frivolous, and then you don't feel like it's a hobby because, you know, you get some benefit from it?
So I think like reading, right? I think okay, without do you want to do this as like a separate thing about reading? But like, for reading, right? I think the thing is that I read things that are like, I read mostly non-fiction, right? It's a bit difficult to like bring up that topic with most people. Like they're probably not very keen to hear what I have to say on the books that I'm reading. So like currently I'm reading like a book about shame, which is I Thought It Was Just Me by Brene Brown. And then like I'm also reading Pleasure Activism, which is about activism through the act of pleasure rather than like maybe more political or like more like common means. And then there's also, what's that third book? Super Senses. So like how we have more than just like the regular 5 senses by Emma Young's a relatively new book lah. And so these are like the less intense books. Then previously I was reading like about degrowth, Less is More, by Jason Hickel, and The History of Work, I think that's what it's called. So like it's a bit heavy to bring up.
Yeah.
Like you can really tell, right, the atmosphere is a bit heavy when I bring up what I read. I think it puts people off lah to tell people that, you know, like this is my hobby. It's a bit like save everybody face lah by not talking about this. I think like dolls is easy to say because it's easy to dismiss as like, oh, it's just a thing, you know, like, but then reading is a bit like I think people find it quite intimidating or challenging to hear what I say about reading. Not that I have a very strong opinion, you know, but just the topic of what I read, I think is a bit off-putting to some people.
Yeah, so maybe we'll talk about the topics that we read about in
another podcast. No, is this a podcast, videos? A show, a video? I don't know. Okay, I keep referring to it as a podcast. Maybe we'll just end this topic here for today. Let us know what hobbies you have. Whether they give you energy, do they also take up a lot of your energy? Do you think it's worth it? Or like, yeah, just let us know what kind of hobbies you have and anything else that resonated with you, whatever we said.
Do you want to put a link to your doll channel?
I can, but I mean, I'll probably put it in the first video as well. Yeah, okay, that's all for this video. Bye bye.
Bye.